I found my husband and our neighbor getting intimate on the roof. I didn't say a word, I just quietly bolted the roof access door, cut the power at the main switch, and left on a week-long vacation. Have you ever loved someone so much you'd sacrifice everything for them? I did, and on our 7th wedding anniversary, I found out my entire life was a lie, a carefully planned, cruel joke designed to destroy me. For 7 years, I thought I was the luckiest woman alive. My husband, Ethan, was the celebrated architect in New York, handsome, brilliant, and he treated me like a queen. Every morning, a glass of warm lemon water was waiting for me because he said my stomach was sensitive. Every night, he'd walk in, wrap his arms around me, and whisper, "My love, I'm home." It was a web of sweet words and perfect moments, and I fell for it completely. For him, I gave up everything. I was supposed to be the next CFO of my family's company, a huge multinational conglomerate. My dad, Robert Hayes, had my entire future paved in gold. But I defied him. I chose love over money, and I was determined to prove him wrong. I became a full-time homemaker. Our penthouse on Billionaire's Row, once cold and empty, became a home because of me. I memorized every little thing about him, his sugar-free espresso, the exact pillow he needed for his back. My entire world revolved around making him happy. And when he'd hold me and say, "Having you at home, Mia, is the greatest fortune of my life," I believed him. God, I was so naive. Then, about 6 months ago, things started to change. A new neighbor moved in downstairs. Her name was Chloe. I first saw her struggling with boxes, this delicate, exhausted-looking woman with a shy 3-year-old boy named Leo clinging to her. She told me she was a recently divorced single mom trying to start over. My heart just went out to her. I started bringing them food, little treats for Leo. I saw her as a little sister. She was always so grateful, calling me her savior. Sometimes she'd bring up a little tart saying, "A small thank you for you and Mr. Blackwood." At first, Ethan barely noticed her, but then she started laying it on thick whenever he was around. "Oh, Mr. Blackwood, you're an architect? You're so brilliant. Mrs. Blackwood, you're so blessed to have such a man." And what man doesn't love hearing that? He started helping her out. A leaky faucet here, a new bookshelf there. It all seemed so innocent. And me, I was just proud my husband was such a kind, helpful guy. I was so stupid. I'd basically just invited the wolf into my home. The little changes started. Ethan came home later and later. The excuse was always the same. A new project was in a critical phase. His phone started ringing more, and he'd always step out onto the balcony to talk, claiming he didn't want to disturb me. One night, I saw a text pop up on his screen. It was from a contact named Rainy Day Intern. It said, "Are you home yet? Leo and I miss you so much." When I asked him about it, he just brushed it off. He said she was a young intern at his firm who looked up to him. Then he laughed, this condescending little laugh, and accused me of being jealous. He made me feel like I was the crazy one. And I believed him. I actually felt guilty for doubting the man I loved. The level of manipulation was masterful. Then came our 7th anniversary. I went all out, a romantic candlelit dinner, vintage wine, all his favorite dishes. I was wearing the red silk dress he bought me, just waiting. 6 p.m. came and went. 7 p.m. 8 p.m. Nothing. I called. No answer. Around 9, I got a text. "My love, I'm so sorry. Emergency with a key partner. Had to rush over. Don't wait up." Disappointment just washed over me. But I forced a smile and texted back, "It's okay, darling. Work is important. I'll wait for you." I put the cold food away, my heart feeling hollow. Later that night, a huge summer storm rolled in, and a clap of thunder woke me up. And that's when I remembered. The expensive Italian silk duvet he bought me, it was drying on our private rooftop terrace. I grabbed a robe and an umbrella and ran for the stairs, terrified it would be ruined. As I got closer to the rooftop, something felt wrong. The door, which I always locked, was slightly ajar. And then I heard it. Over the sound of the pouring rain, I heard a woman's soft giggle and a man's low, affectionate voice. A voice I knew better than my own. My blood ran cold. It was Ethan. "Easy now," he murmured. "A little rain won't hurt you. I'm here." Then I heard her. "Chloe." Her sharp giggle cut through the air. But I just want you to hold me, darling. It's so romantic up here. Like the whole world is just us. The whole world is just us. That phrase hit me like a sledgehammer. So where was I? What was I in his world? Just a fool to keep his house clean. I don't know how I found the courage, but I crept closer, peering through the crack in the door. And then I saw them, tangled together on the swing I had picked out. His shirt was unbuttoned, and she was in a thin, soaking wet nightgown. They were kissing, this desperate, passionate kiss. His hands, the same hands that held mine every day, were all over her. 7 years. 7 years of love, of sacrifice, all of it turned to dust in a single second. It was all a joke. I thought I would scream, rush in there, and slap them both. But I didn't. Something else took over. A terrifying, cold, quiet rage. The pain was still there, but it solidified into a block of ice in my chest. I wouldn't let them see me break. I wouldn't give them that satisfaction. I backed away silently, my steps steady. I walked back into our apartment, the only sound the ticking of the clock. I went straight to the heavy steel security door that led to the rooftop from inside our penthouse. Ethan used to brag about this lock. It could only be opened from the inside. I found the key. Click! The rooftop was sealed. They could enjoy their private world for as long as they wanted. But that wasn't enough. I went to the utility closet and found the main circuit breaker for the penthouse. I found the big red switch labeled master. And without a single hesitation, I flipped it. Poof! The entire apartment plunged into darkness. I stood there in the silence, imagining their panic on the rooftop. The lights going out, the realization that they were trapped. But I didn't care. They deserved it. I walked into our bedroom, not even needing a light. I opened the wardrobe and pulled out my biggest suitcase. I wasn't packing my clothes. I was packing my arsenal. My private savings account, the diamond jewelry my mother gave me, my passport, all my ID. Then I went to his desk and opened the safe. The code? My birthday. The irony was sickening. Inside were all the property deeds and car titles my parents had put in my name before the marriage. I took everything. I left behind anything he had ever given me. Suitcase packed, I wheeled it to the living room. I saw our wedding photo. My happy, smiling face looked so stupid. I picked it up, ready to smash it, but stopped. I just turned it face down. I wasn't going to cause a scene. I was going to disappear. Before I left, I took out my red lipstick. On the giant mirror in the foyer, I wrote 3 words, "Enjoy the show." Then I walked out the door and closed it softly behind me. My old life was over. The Mia he knew was dead, and my revenge had just begun. As the elevator descended, I looked at my reflection. My face was a mask of ice. The shock was gone, replaced by a terrifying calm. My mind wasn't on grief, it was on strategy. Where to go? Not my parents' house. I wouldn't go back to them a failure. I checked into a 5-star hotel, got the best suite, and pulled out a burner phone I'd kept hidden for years. I dialed a number. Caleb, my fiercely loyal former assistant, who I'd secretly kept on a private payroll, just in case. He picked up on the first ring. "Mia, are you all right?" His voice was the first warmth I'd felt in hours. "I'm fine, Caleb," I said, my own voice husky. "I need you to do a few things for me. Right now." "Anything," he said. "First, investigate Ethan Blackwood's finances for the last 6 months. Everything. Second, find out everything you can about a woman named Chloe Vance. And Caleb," I added, "tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., bring attorney Stephen Adler here. Tell him Chairman Hayes's daughter needs him." Hanging up, I felt the machine of my old life whirring back to life. Stephen Adler wasn't just my family's top lawyer. He was like an uncle to me. And in that moment, my father's words from 7 years ago came rushing back. He'd looked at me with such disappointment. "That boy, Ethan," he'd said. "His eyes hold too much ambition. I fear he's marrying you for more than love." I had told him he was wrong, but Dad was right all along. While I was planning my war, I could just picture the dark comedy unfolding on that cold, rainy rooftop. They must have thought it was a simple power outage at first. Ethan, trying to be suave, probably said something like, "It's more romantic this way." But as the minutes turned into a half hour and the cold started to bite, panic would set in. Chloe, shivering and whining. Ethan, realizing the internal door was locked, the terror dawning on them as they screamed my name into the wind, only to be met with silence. They were trapped. Eventually, they would have found the emergency exit to the main stairwell and stumbled down, soaked and freezing. They get into the apartment, only to find it dark and silent. When Ethan flipped the main breaker back on, the first thing they would have seen was my message on the mirror. "Enjoy the show." Then he'd race to the bedroom to find my side of the closet empty. The safe wide open. "She's gone. She knows everything." I could almost hear the panic in his voice. And in that moment, he would have started scheming, trying to get ahead of a story, playing the part of the heartbroken husband whose wife just vanished. But he had no idea what was coming. The next morning, Caleb and attorney Adler arrived. I told them everything. The 7-year lie, the rooftop, my escape. Adler listened, his expression growing harder with every word. "That punk," he said, his voice cold. "He dared to deceive Chairman Hayes' daughter. Don't worry, Mia. We'll handle this. First, we cut off his money. My first call was to the bank manager. Lock all secondary cards under Ethan Blackwood's name. Immediately. 5 minutes later, I got the notification. Card locked. Joint account frozen. Then Caleb opened his laptop. For the last 6 months, Ethan had withdrawn nearly $500,000 in cash from our joint account. He'd spent over $1 million on the secondary black card, luxury gifts, 5-star trips to Vegas and Miami, all on the days he told me he was away on business. And Chloe? She wasn't a single mom. She was still legally married to an engineer working overseas. And Leo wasn't her son, he was her deceased sister's child. She had a history of romantic fraud. It wasn't an affair. It was a long con. I could just picture Ethan at some fancy boutique, confidently handing over his black card, only to be told, "Sir, your card has been declined." The confusion turning to sheer panic. His financial nightmare had just begun. But the real bombshell dropped a few days later. Caleb handed me a thick folder. "You should prepare yourself for this," he said. I opened it. On the first page was a spiderweb of Chloe's connections. But one name was circled in red, connected to her by a bold line, Ethan Blackwood. And next to it, the word wasn't lover. It was business partner. I flipped the page. It was a contract, signed over a year ago, before she even moved in. It laid out a plan for Chloe to establish a romantic relationship with me, to create a situation where I would either file for divorce or be framed for infidelity. Also, Ethan could get a favorable settlement. Her payment, 10% of my assets. My husband had hired a woman to orchestrate our entire breakup. He wasn't just a cheater, he was a con artist. A monster. The rest of the file was just as sickening. He hadn't just stolen my money. He built his entire career by stealing designs from his colleagues. He was a plagiarist, a fraud, and deeply in debt to loan sharks. He needed my money to save his own skin. Tears streamed down my face, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of pure, burning rage. They wanted to play a high-stakes game? Fine. I would play. But now, I was the one making the rules. My first move was subtle. Ethan had built his reputation online, in these elite architect forums. So I created an anonymous profile, The Unveiled Truth. I wrote a long, detailed post about a brilliant young architect whose designs were stolen by his superior, Architect EB. I didn't name him, but I dropped clues, his favorite watch, the way he talked. The post exploded. People started guessing. Then, the real victim, a man named Adam Long, commented, "Everything you wrote is true." Thank you. The forum turned into a firestorm. Ethan's reputation was in flames. While he was scrambling to put out that fire, Chloe made a fatal mistake. Panicked and cut off from the money, she tracked down my parents' estate in Connecticut. She showed up at the gates, wailing, with little Leo as a prop, playing the victim whose husband was stolen by their niece. My mother, Eleanor Hayes, the vice chairwoman of our company, had her let in. Chloe fell to her knees, begging for mercy. My mother just calmly sipped her tea. "You must be mistaken," she said, her voice like steel. "Mia is not my niece. She is my daughter, the only daughter of Chairman Robert Hayes of the Hayes Group. And you? Who are you to come here and slander her?" The color drained from Chloe's face. My mother then calmly listed every detail of Chloe's life, her real husband, her criminal record for fraud. I'll give you two choices, my mother finished. 1. You leave now and never show your face again. 2. I call the police. Chloe ran like her life depended on it. Her pathetic act had backfired spectacularly. Their unholy alliance imploded. They turned on each other, screaming and blaming. Cornered and desperate, Ethan made his final, stupidest move. He decided to forge my signature to sell a massive piece of land I owned in the Hamptons. He thought he was so clever. He had no idea Attorney Adler had anticipated this, and that the entire forgery, every stroke of the pen, was being recorded by a hidden camera. We had him. It was no longer a messy divorce. It was a federal felony. The final act was a charity gala my family hosted, the biggest social event of the year. I sent Ethan a personal invitation. His ego was so massive, he thought it was an olive branch, a chance for him to win me back in public. He even brought Chloe. They walked in, trying to look like a power couple, completely oblivious they were walking into their own public execution. When it was my turn to speak, I stepped onto the stage. The lights dimmed, and the giant screen behind me lit up, not with pictures of smiling children, but with a photo of Ethan and Chloe on the rooftop. The crowd gasped. Then came the contract, the bank statements, the evidence of his plagiarism. And for the grand finale, the crystal-clear video of him forging my signature. And that, ladies and gentlemen, my voice rang out, is the moment my beloved husband committed felony fraud. The ballroom was dead silent. Then the doors swung open, and 2 NYPD detectives walked in. Ethan Blackwood, one of them, announced, "You're under arrest." He screamed my name, his face twisted with hatred. "You ruined me." But it was too late. They cuffed him and dragged him away. Chloe fainted. The show was over. In the end, Ethan got 15 years in federal prison. Chloe got 5. I got my life back. It's been a year now. I took over a failing real estate project for my dad and turned it into the most successful development in Miami. I proved to everyone, and to myself, that I was more than just a wife. I was a force. I found love again, too, in the most unexpected way. With James, Chloe's real husband. A good, kind man who was also a victim of their lies. We found healing in each other. Today, sitting in a sunny cafe with him and a happy, laughing Leo, I feel a peace I never knew was possible. I don't hate Ethan anymore. I don't think about him at all. Forgiving them wasn't for their sake, it was for mine. It was the only way to truly be free. My painful past forged the woman I am today, stronger, wiser, and finally, truly happy. This whole ordeal taught me that you can survive anything, but it makes me wonder. What would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever had to fight for yourself when everything was on the line? I really want to hear your stories in the comments below.